Hey guys, welcome back to Reserved Investments on YouTube. So a little while ago on this channel, roughly about a week ago from the filming of this video, I uploaded a video entitled Collectibles, Investing in Established Third-Party Graded Collectibles, Intro to the 4 C's. And in that video, I just set the groundwork for why I like investing in established third-party graded collectibles. And I hinted in a future video, I would talk about the 4 C's of the antiques and collectibles trade. Well, make no mistake, given that this is YouTube, obviously in the comment section, certain people got the 4 C's correct. The 4 C's of the antiques and collectibles trade are coins, currency, also known as paper money, comic books, and cards, whether we're talking about sports cards, Magic the Gathering cards, Pokemon cards, Garbage Pail Kids cards, it doesn't matter. Cards encompasses that entire market. So what I'm going to be talking about in this video is a strategy you can employ to the point where you only have exposure to these 4 markets and you build a well-defined portfolio of antiques and collectibles that will hopefully, if you choose properly, appreciate nicely either over the short term or over the long term. Now, what's great about investing in the 4 C's is that you get exposure to mature and sophisticated markets, which is what coins and currency are. You also get exposure to established markets if you're going to invest in vintage sports cards, even to a lesser extent, vintage pre-1975 comic books. And if you want to get exposure to speculative markets, if you go after modern era sports cards, which I really don't recommend for the long term, but over the short term, they're great. Magic the Gathering cards and products, Pokemon cards and products. Or if you want to be brave and you want to try your luck with graded vintage Garbage Pail Kids or graded Marvel Universe trading cards, those particular markets are extremely speculative at present time. So what's great about investing in the 4 C's is you get exposure to a lot of the popular markets in the overall antiques and collectibles trade. And all of these markets offer third-party grading, which protects you both as a buyer and as a seller. So you can really put together a very valuable collection of items, again, that are on the history side of the trade when we talk about coins and currency, and also on the pop culture side of the trade and everything in between. So these markets encompass pretty much every market that is made up of the antiques and collectibles trade that is going strong in the year 2021. So I'm going to give you my advice on how to invest in these markets, meaning the 4 C's, should you want to put together an investment grade collection for the short term or the long term. Now, I want to warn you, obviously, if you're going to be investing in coins, currency, even established markets like vintage sports cards or vintage comic books of high grade, in order to do this, you are going to have a little bit of money. This is not going to be a realm that you can enter with just a couple of $100 or even several $1,000s in that case. Remember, I collect rare investment grade coins. I collect rare investment grade pieces of currency, and I can tell you firsthand, to enter those markets, you need thousands of dollars for each purchase you are going to make overall. There are some exceptions, but overall, you're going to have to spend thousands of dollars to acquire investment grade specimens in those collecting categories. Same is true with vintage sports cards overall and vintage comic books, especially if you're going after key issues from pre-1975, which I also dabble in. So this is not going to be cheap for some of you, but there are ways around it if you want to build up a collection of, say, cards, comic books, then sell off some items, use those proceeds to go after coins and currency. That is one strategy that you can employ. So the first market I'm going to talk about is coins. Now, coins is something that you guys know that I love, especially vintage and antique coins, especially high-grade U.S. issues. But this is not a market for everybody. If you are thinking of getting into the market for especially scarce and key date U.S. coins, no, it's one of the most sophisticated markets in the trade. Now, I recommend if you're going to get into this market, you do a lot of research first. I've done other videos on this. And you go after scarce or key U.S. coins that were minted from the 1700s all the way up through the 1930s. Now, the reason why I tell you to stop pretty much at 1939 is because once you get into the 1940s, the market changes dramatically. And a lot of coins that were produced in the US from the 1940s on up are readily available. They are not, in my opinion, overall investment grade issues, with few exceptions. There are some scarce dates in the 40s, 50s, and 60s that you're going to come across that you can truly invest in. But for the most part, most investment grade coins that were minted in the United States were minted between, obviously, the 1700s all the way up through the 1930s. That's what I would encourage you to focus on. I will also tell you to embrace CAC stickering. If you don't know what CAC is, please Google it. It stands for Certified Acceptance Corporation. During the 1980s, there was a lot of overgraded coins hitting the market, graded by both PCGS, NGC, and other companies. CAC came on the scene in roughly 2006 to rectify that issue. If you send them a coin that's already graded, they will look at it, they will assess the grade again, and if they agree that the coin is at least meets the minimum requirements for that grade assessed by PCGS or NGC, they will put a green sticker on that particular coin stating such. CAC has changed the fundamentals of the rare coin marketplace. If you are going to invest in rare coins, you must at least understand CAC stickering and what it brings to the marketplace by and large. Other markets that are really hot right now in the coin marketplace are ancient coins. NGC came out with NGC Ancients that grades ancient coins, and that market is on fire at present time. There is a little bit of speculation in that market, so if you do get involved in the market for ancient coins that are graded by NGC, please do your homework. There's a lot of people, in my opinion, paying ridiculous prices for some of these coins, or I think there may come a correction at some point in that market, but right now it is red hot. Another market that I will tell you about that's hot about in rare coins, especially if you're an overseas viewer, the market for historic Great Britain coins, Chinese coins, and even French coins. Those markets are heating up at present time. I have yet to do a video on collecting world coins because, again, I am predominantly in the US. So I look at the antiques and collectibles trade from that perspective. But make no mistake, I am going to be doing a video on collecting and investing world coins. I would like to say sometime soon, but in all realism, it's probably going to be 6 months out. But I will eventually get to that video. Now, what should you avoid if you are going after investing in coins? Well, in my opinion, if you're going to go after modern coins, I would be very cautious unless you're going after them for their precious metal content. Meaning, if you want to put together a collection of silver and gold coins, you can do so. I would tell you, though, to avoid third-party grading if they are modern issues. If you buy from a reputable dealer, if you buy from a known dealer even online, chances are they're not going to be counterfeit. You don't need to pay the extra fee to get them graded or pay a premium for those type of graded coins. Now keep in mind, if you are investing in silver and gold coins for their bullion or precious metal content, you are not theoretically investing in the rare coin marketplace. So just keep that in mind. But that is another investing strategy if you want access to physical precious metals being silver and gold. You can do it through coins. Another market that I will tell you to steer clear of is the market for ungraded key coins or common coins in high grade. Most of those coins that are ungraded, there's a reason why they are selling them ungraded in the year 2021. Now, it's true, you may come across an estate sale. You may come across a grandmother or a grandfather out there who inherited a collection and they're selling it ungraded as is to the point where there may be something in there that truly has a lot of value. But overall, if you come across an auction site or a dealer or somebody out there that you're unsure of who's trying to sell you an ungraded raw key date US coin, just use caution. Sometimes it's best not to enter that sale unless if you really have a lot of knowledge in this particular marketplace. Next, we're going to talk about currency. So we are going in order here. We're going to talk about coins, which we just spoke about first, then currency, then cards, then comic books. So sorry, pop culture collectors. Today you're going to have to wait to the end of the video to get your fix where I talk about those particular markets. So when we talk about currency, the market that I like the most is pre-1928 large size U.S. paper money. That's the market that I predominantly choose to invest in. Now, I know a lot of currency collectors, if they watch this video, they're going to hate me and they're going to go, Sean, you don't know what you're talking about. The market for small size U.S. currency produced after 1928 is still going strong in certain sectors of that market. I agree with you 100%, my brothers and sisters. And I do want to say, if you are going after some of the small size, high denomination notes like $500 bills, $1,000 bills, $10,000 bills, if you can afford them, those particular issues are on fire right now to the point where the market is very hot. For anything, if you have an uncirculated, graded PMG, PCGS, 64, 65, EPQ, $500 or $1,000 bill, the sky's the limit. At present time, that market is on fire. I 100% believe in that market because in the year 2021, the highest domination banknote that our government, the U.S. government, currently produces is the $100 bill. So $500 bills, $1,000 bills, $10,000 bills, if you can find them and afford them, they are highly coveted and collected at present time, and I don't see that trend stopping anytime soon. So if you are looking to make a leap in that market, do so now. 10 to 20 years, I really think you will be rewarded for investing in those particular issues, especially if they are third-party graded and they are in higher grade than average. So let me just state that. Now, what I will tell you to avoid if you are going after paper money or currency, avoid modern paper money issues. I don't care from what country. In my opinion, overall, that is too much of a speculative bet. A $20 bill produced in the year 2021 by the U.S. government is not going to have the same collectability to it as a $20 bill from 1880. Of course. Correct, guys? So just understand and see the market for what it is if you're going after modern era issues. Now, if you collect era issues, that is a whole other ball game entirely. You can make a lot of money collecting, investing, and flipping era issues. So, like if you guys saw the $20 Del Monte stickered banknote that pretty much sold at heritage auctions for close to $400,000, that was an example of an extremely in-demand modern era issue that sold for an extraordinarily high price. That's an item that will always have collectability. So if you want to get involved in that market, you can make a lot of money in that market. I would also avoid world banknotes unless if you can do the research on those banknotes. There's a lot of banknotes, and I don't care what country we're talking about. We can go back to 1950s China, 1850s China. Unless you know the culture and the history and you know the market for those particular banknotes, don't take a blind leap and invest in them. Use completed auction listings from Heritage to be your guide. Do a price history before investing in these markets. Understand how that market is performing at present time versus how it was performing just 10 years ago. And there you're going to get your answers as to whether or not it is looking positive to invest in that market over the long term. Now, with all that being said about coins and currency, now we're getting into talking about cards. Now, there are multiple ways to invest in cards because remember, the card market consists of sports cards, Magic the Gathering cards, Pokemon cards, Marvel Universe trading cards, Garbage Pail Kids even. Now, I do not recommend anybody open a position in Marvel Universe trading cards or vintage Garbage Pail Kids for the long term. It is most likely not going to work out in your favor. However, if you have an inroad to that market, maybe you're sending some of those cards to PSA to get graded, they're coming back fairly high grade, you want to flip them in the secondary market, sell them to the Timmies, the Kimmies, the Poindexters, that all came in the comment section and ripped me up when I did that video telling people not to invest in Marvel Universe trading cards. By all means, you do you, and you take advantage of those people who don't understand how these markets work long term. I have no problem with that. I'm here to educate. If you don't want to listen to my education, by all means, you do you. But overall, I do not recommend investing in Marvel Universe trading cards, vintage Garbage Pail Kid cards for the long term. Short-term specs, yes, if you can get them at the right price. I would never go on eBay, pay a premium for these cards, and think you're going to flip them for more than they're selling for at present day. It's too risky. Now, if you want to go after vintage sports cards, vintage Magic the Gathering, vintage Pokemon cards, I'm all for it. It's when we get to the modern era that, again, I want to provide my advice of caution. If you are going after modern era Magic the Gathering cards and products, modern era Pokemon cards and products, modern era sports cards and products, be aware those markets are extremely volatile and extremely speculative over the long term. If you want to get in those markets over the short term and you want to buy the latest booster box of whatever Magic the Gathering set has come out in the last 6 months or Pokemon, and you want to try to speculate on it thinking that it's going to go higher once it's out of print, by all means, you do you. Again, though, that market is very speculative for the long term. You are better off, if you're going to enter that market, as soon as that item starts going up in value, flipping it into the secondary market, taking out your profits, and putting those profits in vintage collectibles. There's a lot of people I know, guys. A lot of you guys get me all wrong. You think I'm against investing in Pokemon and Magic the Gathering over the long term. You guys need to go back and watch those videos, what I talked about investing in these markets over the long term. I'm not against that. What I am against is, if you go to the market right now and you buy the latest Magic the Gathering booster box, whether it's Zendikar Rising or Commander's Legends, and you keep that factory sealed and you think, well, in 20 years, that booster box is going to be worth $1,000, $2,000, so therefore it's a good investment, you are dead wrong. In that case, you would be better off investing in that booster box. Then when it doubles or triples in value, selling that booster box, taking that money, and going after a reserve list vintage card or a vintage Pokemon card or something that actually has true scarcity rather than mass-produced scarcity. And that's something that you got to understand. There are strategies that you can employ to make money in these markets. But if you're going to invest long-term in speculative assets, it's never a wise idea. It does not work for you guys. Now, what I will tell you, before we get into comic books, if you are going to get into the market for graded cards at present time, understand it is an extremely hot market. Whether we're looking at sports cards, Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, just go on eBay and look at completed listings, look at PWCC auction listings, and you're going to see these markets are on fire. Just use caution if you are parking money there and you're not doing a proper analytical review of these markets in question for either the short term or the long term. We've talked about this before on this channel. I'm not going to repeat myself in every video. Go back and watch some of my earlier videos. Last but not least, we have to talk about investing in comic books. Now, this one gets a little bit dicey because I do like this market, believe it or not. Now, I like the market for pre-1975 and earlier comic books that are of key issue, caveats, and also high grade. So you're talking your Incredible Hulk 181s, your Batman ones, if you can afford them, obviously, your Tales of Suspense 39s, your giant size X-Men ones, your Silver Surfer ones, items of that caliber. That's what I like. The problem is that market has accelerated in value so much that a lot of collectors, a lot of investors, a lot of speculators are priced out of that market. So what they're doing is, in my opinion, they're making a huge mistake. They're going after the post-1985 comic book marketplace, and they're putting money in Amazing Spider-Man 300, Walking Dead 1, New Mutants 98, and why, to be fair, those are good issues. They are modern era keys, but there's a ton of them out there, guys. So that's where I want to caution you. If you are investing for the long term in vintage comic books, the place to be, in my opinion, the number one spot to be is vintage pre-1965 comic books. The number two spot to be is pre-1975 vintage comic books. I honestly am going to tell you this, and I know a lot of you are going to disagree. If you are investing in comic books for the long term, avoid any comic book that was produced after 1975. And I know a lot of you are going to scream at me in the comment section over that. Again, I said long-term. Long-term investing denotes a period of 5 years or more, meaning you're going to buy that book today in 2021. You're going to hold it at least until 2026 and then try to sell it. I do not see that market remaining stable over the next 5, 10, 20 years like the market could for pre-1975 comic books, and even that has a lot of question marks around it. Meaning if you look at books like Amazing Spider-Man 129, even X-Men 94, even books like Nightworth's One that have started to accelerate in value, I really don't think a lot of collectors 5 to 10 years from now are going to be gravitating towards a lot of those books. Now, Incredible Hulk 181, that book has defied gravity, in my opinion. Even Giant Size X-Men 1, those books are fairly coveted right now, and I don't see that trend changing. If you do want to go after, there is one post-1975 book, and there are some exceptions that I would agree, if you were going to go after, that would be a good investment. And that is the first printing of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1. If you can get that book in 9.2 or higher condition, that is an investment grade key. But there are a few other books that were produced after 1975 that I would honestly encourage you guys to go after. So if you're not going after a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1 first printing, I would really, in all honesty, avoid most post-1975 books for investing in this market for the long term. Now, what I will tell you is, what I see happening with vintage comic books, at some point, there is going to come a correction in this market. And it doesn't matter where you're invested in, whether it be pre-1965 comic books or even pre-1975 comic books. You're going to get affected by that correction. There are too many books out there that are being gobbled up by unsophisticated and uneducated speculators and wannabe investors. Books like Amazing Spider-Man 300, even Amazing Spider-Man 129. You know, I've said this before, I love the Punisher. He is an awesome, iconic character in the Marvel Universe. But there are so many copies of that book out there in high grade, it is pathetic to think that that book can keep going up and up in value year after year is a very, very risky analysis, in my opinion. So that's how I would play these markets, guys. I hope you got something out of this video. We will talk about this more in upcoming videos. This is just me telling you how I would go about planning to put together some type of investment portfolio that contains graded coins, graded currency, graded cards, and graded comic books. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think, good, bad, and different. Thanks for watching, and have a great night.